Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you today how to make Jason's mask from Friday the 13th out of gumpaste. Alright, you ready? I'm going to do it. Every time I think of Friday the 13th, I always think of that sound effect. I don't think about the camp or the, machete or anything. It's always that sound for some reason. Anyway, the mask. You can see I started with a lump and I rolled out toward the edges, but left the hump in the middle, so it's still there. And then I'm cutting out a great big oval. And to make his mask is real dingy and dirty, so I colored my gum paste in ivory color. I don't know if it would have been better to leave it a lighter ivory or even just keep it white, but I don't think straight up white was good. Anyway, I cut it out into an oval. I rounded off the edges as you see. I'm using that tool there, my X-Acto knife, to make an eyebrow ridge. So I went above and below to make a ridge, and then I'm kind of pressing down to make a triangle where the nose sticks out in his mask because he has an eyebrow ridge and a nose lump in his mask. And I found a circle, pressing down in the eye socket spots to make his eyes. I want to say this mask was like 5.5 inches long, maybe, so it's kind of a good size. Whatever size you make, just make sure your circles look appropriate, that they kind of match everything. I wanted to make the holes a little bit more recessed, so I used that tool you saw there, and I'm using my ball tool to kind of smooth it out, just so that it, kind of grades together more. I'm using my fingers to smooth the edges, make sure you don't lose your nose ridge. And now I'm using a drinking straw I got from Dunkin' Donuts to start making the ventilation holes. If you Google, Jason's mask, you're going to see what it looks like and just follow the pattern for the holes. You can see there's 3 on each cheek. There's the one right under the nose. I actually should have put it a little higher, I think. And then it kind of goes across the bottom chin and down in two, and yeah. You can see the sides have some on each temple, and then there's 2 that come up from each eyebrow, I guess you'd say. But on the one side, you can see I cut that wedge out there. I didn't bother putting them because the way his mask gets cut or chopped or damaged, whatever you want to call it, the holes aren't there anymore. It just comes real close up to that one hole. And also because the knife blade was so nice and straight, I'm using that tool there to just rough it up so that the gash is now jaggedy. It's not smooth like it was. So yeah, already it looks pretty much like a hockey mask, and it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth and round on the sides. This hockey mask has been through a lot, so it's a little beat up, so it's okay if it's not perfect. If anything, you probably want it a little rougher. I'm using rolled out thin brown you see there to make the 3 leather straps that holds it on his head. And then I rolled out some red really thin to make the triangle symbol that's on his mask. That's right above his eyebrows, or his eyes on his eyebrows, I should say. I just rolled it out thin, laid that strip across because the eyebrow or the triangle goes kind of past those 2 ventilation holes there. Like each tip goes a little bit further, so that's just what I was doing there. I was just doing it for sizing. Using my straw again to put little imprints into the brown of the leather, and then I'm lifting out. So I pressed down and twisted it hard enough to get through the brown, but not to get all the way through the beige underneath. This is just some gray gum paste. I'm using the same size circles. Again, just lift them up, carefully set them in place. Those are going to be the screws that hold the mask straps onto the mask. And they don't quite fit, you can see, but using that tool, if you press down like that with it, it'll make it recess into the leather more. It makes it look more like it's really gripping into it, not just sitting on top. The screwdriver, I washed it, don't worry. I couldn't find anything else to make a good screw symbol or pattern in it, so I just went and got a screwdriver. And in order to make the screws a little bit shiny, I'm just adding some silver shimmer to a wet paintbrush. And I just wet it with water and paint it carefully on because this stuff can crumb or flake, so you got to be kind of careful. And again, this mask is old and beat up, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to look like there's a little bit of shine left to that metal in there. All right, and now I'm just going to dirty it up. I have just brown food coloring and some water. I went heavy on the gash at the top there, you see, and I just start making a mess all over. Just kind of it's pretty watered down. So now after I paint it on with the brush, I'm just using my hand to kind of smear it around. That gets rid of the heavy streaks and just gives it more, a grading or shading, whatever kind of word you want to use there. And then I'm going back over it with some heavier brown, but it's drier, so it's just more streaks to just kind of rough it up a little bit more again, because, you know, he doesn't take good care of his stuff at the bottom of the lake. If you find you make any lines too heavy or too dark, add some water. That's what I'm doing off screen there. I'm just dipping my finger into a little bit of water and then rubbing it, and it mutes it a bit. It helps fade it out so it's not as strong. Get down in the holes and let it dry. And yeah, I use brown. If you want to use black, you could. But I gotta say, it comes out pretty good. I roughed up the triangle a little bit too there. So yeah, stick it on a cake, add some machetes, add some blood. You got a Friday the 13th cake with a pretty awesome looking mask. And that's it. So please check out my other videos. And as always, if you make something, send it to me. And thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.